Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 97. James, we are getting dangerously close to that century mark. I'm pretty pumped up about that. So for tonight, typical kind of schedule. We're going to do Name That Stadium to start things off. After that, we'll hit the news from this past week. And then we're going to do our 2022 NFL schedule preview, and we'll close things off with question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
Pretty good, man. Just slowly recovering from COVID, up and down and all around, but better than where I was. I don't know, a little over a week ago, I guess. So, just fingers crossed. Got to keep kicking at it, man. Got to keep fighting it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's move it over. Let's do a little name that stadium action. And so last week, James, you kind of gave everybody the rundown. You feel like you can do that again tonight?
Well, they should just watch last week's, and they'll get the rundown. And hit that like button on last week's, and then while you're at it, hit the like button on this week's, and then we'll be good. But
Yeah, no
no,
kidding.
so every week I travel around, pick a stadium. During the season, it's generally a home team that weekend, and go pick a stadium and it's up in my background. First person to guess it is gets a special shout out in the following week's show. Last week I was in Green Bay, and there was a reason for it. And there's something about Green Bay that had hit the news,
Okay.
but I don't remember. I completely forgot what it was.
It was just a spur of the moment thing that evades you right now. I got you.
Yeah, it there's something like they had a signing or something, or some news came out.
Oh, well, I know what was it? They extended their cornerback. I don't know if that was before last week's show or if that was since then. I want to say it's more recent, but
Yeah, I want
he
to say that that was more recent. I seriously I don't remember. Like there was a reason that I picked. Shit. What did we talk about last week? Damn.
last week was oh, here, let me just go check. It was a draft analysis week. Our favorite picks from rounds 2 or later.
That's what it was. It was they had one of my favorite picks was God. It's been that type of week for me. I can't remember shit today. Um
I got you. Hey, no worries, man. Not that wide receiver, Christian Watson.
no, that pick was more, it was like a fifth round pick or something.
Offensive lineman, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was oh, they get why is my brain escaping me? Damn. I don't
Uh,
remember.
hey, it's all good. But yeah, so, first person to guess the right answer, they get a special shout out in next week's show. Maybe one day we'll have some swag or something cool to give away. I was actually looking at custom ink the other day, James. Maybe we'll do some bumper stickers or something, but we got to have a budget to do that shit first, right? So,
Yeah, you gotta have a budget for that.
so yeah, for people who was watching, hit the subscribe button, help us get the budget, and then we'll hook you up with some swag later on. Come on, it's give and take here, people. Okay, so enough of that. Let's move on. Let's do our recap of the past week. And so, James, just going through, skimming some of the news from this past week. I saw one just earlier today. It looks like Nick Foles is expected to sign with the Indianapolis Colts, go in, back up Matt Ryan. He has previous experience with the Eagles with Frank Reich. And so I like that signing. I think that's a good place for him to land on his feet. It seems his role in the league is going to be more of a backup. This is a good spot for him to be.
Nick Foles is a backup. He never should have been um, paid starter money in the first place. What the fuck are the Colts doing? Are they just like throwing darts at the wall? Old quarterbacks that Frank Wright had success with, just to hope something. Like last year Carson Wentz, this year they're signing Nick Foles. I mean, at least they got rid of Carson Wentz, so they're not back to like the same quarterback room that they had in Philadelphia.
I like the signing, as a backup behind Matt Ryan. I think he was a flash in the pan, obviously, with the Eagles on that Super Bowl run. But the familiarity, I think that's good because if you need him, you're going to feel somewhat confident in your backup, which is it's hard to do in the NFL these days.
Yeah.
So let's see some other news. There's a lot of fluff pieces. You're getting hype about players post draft and things like that, and how things are changing. Man, from a tangible standpoint, I mean, I guess we should talk. The Packers quarterback Alexander got a massive extension. And I'm trying to find the article, but he ended up getting top money for a cornerback, and so that was a solid signing. A lot of people are writing about how you could see Green Bay's focus this year was building that defense because they see that as their way to win. Is that Aaron Rodgers will find a way to make it work with whatever wide receivers he's got, hopefully, and the defense, if they can pick it up a notch, should be able to finally get him over the hump. And some of these guys are taking it even farther, saying, post Aaron Rodgers, they want to be a defensive first team because they see that as their best way to compete when you may have uncertainty at quarterback. Which, I think that makes sense. It's an old school formula, solid defense, good running game that can get you deep in the playoffs. What do you think, man?
So the contract was it was a 4-year extension for 84 million and a 30 million dollar signing bonus for it. So that's 21 million a year, which gives him the highest average APY value per year by zero point 0.7 million, and it's a million more than Ramsey. I think Green Bay's dumb. I just they piss me off so much. You have such a goddamn talented quarterback in Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
and you waste away by giving him shit for wide receivers. I mean this year again, yeah, maybe they were smart for not reaching for a wide receiver in the draft, but the one they traded up to draft, and that must be why I picked Green Bay, because I wanted to kill them for that pick. Trading up and drafting Christian Watson,
Yeah.
who grades out as a kick returner in the second round.
I see some sneaky potential with him, but I know what you're saying.
I was like, Brian Gutekunst seems to not know what the fuck he's doing in the draft. They could have done so much better, and they had a terrible draft again. They don't give weapons to Rodgers. They trade away the only weapon that they have on that offense, the only wide receiver weapon they have. And I mean, it's just like, come on, seriously. If they gave Rodgers weapons, they probably would have won 2 or 3 Super Bowls since the last time they won the Super Bowl. Was it 12, 13?
It's been a while. Yeah. No, and
15, something like that.
I agree with you that for years they've failed to give him what he needs, and they should have been doing that. I do like the extension for Alexander. I do like that they're trying to beef up the defense to be more complementary. Um, but I also think that some of their problem is the offense when it comes playoff time, and they're going against some of those more elite defenses. They're getting to Rodgers, they're frustrating him, and he really only has had Devontae Adams being a difference maker. I think they could do a better job protecting him and definitely giving him more weapons. And yeah, that's something that year in, year out, they just failed to do.
Yeah. I mean, go back to 2 years ago when they traded up. When they could, I believe they could have still drafted Justin Jefferson when they traded up to draft Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know that was like just the stupidest pick any team could have made. I mean, come on. It just, that guy's going to get through his entire rookie contract, never touching the field as a real starter. And what are they going to do? Like, why would you? Just makes no sense. But that's okay. Sometimes you make mistakes in life. We're human, right?
Yeah, but the problem is they're not cutting their losses on that mistake and admitting that it's a mistake. They're
Yeah,
still holding on to him and hanging on to him. Just fucking get rid of his ass. You
yeah.
know he's not going to be shit. Go just cut his ass.
Trade him
Pay
for
up.
some picks.
Trade him for some.
You're not going to get a first rounder, but
Shit,
trade him
shit,
for
trade,
something.
trade him for a pick and offer to pay his salary for the rest of the time while he's the rest of his contract. He's not going to get his 5th-year option, but that's something that was in the news this week, I
Okay.
believe. Was Daniel Jones talked to the media about the Giants. I think it was earlier, like a couple months ago. The Giants said they weren't going to pick up his 5th-year option, and he talked to the media about it, and it was like he didn't care, like big deal, like I'm here to play football. It's like there's another quarterback that should not have been picked in the first place.
Yeah, that was a shocker when the Giants took him that early, for sure. And a lot of the analysts came out of the woodwork to sort of like back it and say, "Oh, all the potential's there." Um, and it's hard to say. Maybe there really is potential, and it's the same thing. They've just never done anything to help the guy out. He's
Hmm.
been working behind a crappy offensive line. Saquon Barkley's been hurt left and right, and his receivers have been mostly dicey. It's like, geez, man. I kind of feel bad for the guy, but it's like, they just set him up to fail. Overdrafted him and then never did him any favors.
Yeah, and they drafted him. What was he, 5th overall? And then they
I
had
want to say 10, but maybe it was higher.
no, no, it was.
Okay. I remember it being really high, but yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think it was because I thought they had that year. They had the 5th and the 16th pick. I believe was that 2018. I want to say it was 5th or 6th
Okay.
because I remember no, that was 18 was Saquon, so it must have been 19. Judge Giants 6th. He was 6th overall.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so they had the 6th and the 17th, not the 5th and the 16th. I mean, you should have done something else. Like, I mean, hell, at the 5th pick where they picked Daniel Jones, they could have picked linebacker Josh Allen. They could have picked. Let me see who else.
They could have gotten an offensive lineman so that
Yeah,
Saquon could have had some running lanes, and then they could have gotten a quarterback the year after.
yeah, but looking at it, like the top offensive lineman in that draft, the top drafted offensive lineman, I'm not really seeing.
That was a dicey year, you're saying?
Yeah, like
Okay.
the people that are there, like they're not. Well, they haven't had what I would say as stellar careers so
Sure.
far.
I mean, then
Because it's
Josh
like,
Allen, defensive line, that's a way to go. You need your quarterback, you need to protect your quarterback, and you need to get to the quarterback. And so it's got to be one of those three picks. I always worry about the teams that get their quarterback before they're ready to protect him, which is
mhm.
exactly what they did. And it was the same thing. They got Saquon before they really had a serviceable offensive line, and you're just wasting people's talent, man.
Yeah, because at the 17th pick, they picked Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, Um, it's just kind of dicey. Like, it'd be linebacker, Josh Allen, the linebacker, not the quarterback,
Yeah,
probably would have been the best one,
I
or
gotcha.
for them because like the top offensive lineman, he's not bad, but I don't think he'd be worth the top 10 pick. Jonah Williams was the top offensive lineman drafted.
I gotcha. Yeah,
It was
might have just been
Jonah
a tough year
Williams
for him.
and Chris Lindstrom.
Well, let's keep it moving, James. So, one other piece that popped up this past week was quarterback James Bradbury. After he got released by the Giants, he signed with the Eagles on a 1 year, $10 million deal. I think that's a sweet signing for the
Hmm.
Eagles. And you know that I was a proponent of the Lions giving this guy a look, which obviously didn't happen, or we don't really know about it. But um, that's a great spot for him to be in. I believe he's 29, and he's going to be the CB2 behind Slay. That really gives that secondary for the Eagles a big boost, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wish I could remember the stat that I heard when the signing happened, but it's basically like the two since in the last like 3 years, there's two cornerbacks in the league that have like 15 interceptions, blah 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 whatever, like the top of the top,
Yeah,
and it's Bradbury and Slay.
so it's quite a pairing.
Yeah, but rumor is apparently 11 teams made him offers, which he whittled down to three, and then selected Philly. I haven't been able to figure out who the other teams that were interested in him. So maybe the Lions were interested in him, but
Yeah, if there were 11, they could have been in on it. Um, I just thought, man, that's such a good deal, just a 1 year, $10 million deal. Because if you're rebuilding, you give the guy a look. You're not paying a ton of money, but he could be your number one. And if it works out, you can always sign him longer term. If it doesn't work out, well, then you draft a guy and you continue your rebuild.
mhm. Like
And
I
then, yeah, go ahead.
what I had said like I agree they should have kicked the tires, but I wouldn't have really overpaid them because of the fact that like the Lions are like before the when we talked about it, I thought the Lions were like 2 years away from being in serious playoff contention, but then after the schedule release, I I'm way higher on them,
Yeah.
which happens all the time, and they always fucking disappoint.
I think this is going to be a better year. And we talked a little bit about what we think the range is for the Lions. And you and I were pretty close this time around. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, we're always way the fuck.
Yeah, usually I'm just hitting them hard. Like, 3 wins, 5 wins, whatever. I'm like, no faith. But, I don't know. I think they'll do better this year, but we'll talk about it tonight. Um, so the last thing I had was running back Tariq Cohen tore his Achilles during workout on Tuesday, which is a real bummer for that guy, man. I know he's had a couple sort of like injury riddled seasons, and then he kind of had like this one random "what is Matt Nagy doing with him" season in Chicago, but um, he was one of those running backs, man, just like a small, shifty guy. Did a lot with special teams, did a lot catching the ball out of the backfield. Like when he was healthy and they were using him right, man, that guy was effective. I was really looking forward to him hopefully getting healthy and making a squad and seeing what he could do again. But looks like it's going to be a while before that comes to reality again.
I missed the name. Like I looked up and saw a news piece and was looking for something, and I missed that article, but I missed the name you said.
Oh, Tariq Cohen.
Cohen.
Do you remember him from the
Yeah,
Bears?
yeah. I remember him. I vaguely remember him. My mind's going this week, like I said.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's Friday, long week. And in fact, here, I'm going to put it on mute here if you want to take over anything on the news that I missed while I blow my nose.
Now, the only thing that I came across that you hadn't talked about was apparently there's still some interest in Baker Mayfield. And that's apparently the two teams that haven't completely pulled out of the Baker Mayfield contest are obvious ones, Seattle and Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the thing that is hindering a deal is the Panthers and the Seahawks want the Browns to absorb his entire contract, and then they will give him something in return for him.
Yeah. Yeah, you pay him and we'll give you a pick.
Yeah. Which, ironically, the last time this happened was when Houston.
Oh, the Brock Osweiler trade?
Yeah. When Houston sent a second round pick to the Browns for Brock Osweiler while the Browns absorbed the 16 million in the
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah,
Which
it was like they were like buying cap space or however it worked basically. Because
yeah,
they
so
knew they weren't going to use him.
yeah, they knew they weren't going to use him, so they're like, okay, we'll pay him for the season and we'll pay him his salary and take the cap hit for it. You give us a pick and you can take him and he won't account for anything on your books.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think Baker Mayfield's a starter in the league. I don't think. I also, from the tea leaves I'm starting to read and hear, I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to be there for the first 6 games.
Okay.
I'm starting to see a lot of possible 6-game suspension for Watson, and that would be they'll still need a quarterback to play those 6 games.
Yeah.
And I mean, it would be Baker, but do you really is Baker really
Well,
really
he could keep him in the playoff hunt until Watson's ready to roll, and then you would hope that Watson elevates him and they walk in from there. It's interesting though because I kind of thought Carolina was going to be the spot after all the dust settled from the draft and everything, and but I just hadn't heard anything, and I just kept telling myself, no way are they really going to roll with frickin' Sam Darnold again. Like, come on, they got to be thinking Baker. It just seems like, how do you not just totally axe that whole regime if they don't do something different at quarterback?
I wouldn't rule out Matt Corral being starting week 1 in Carolina.
Okay.
I
I think it's asking a lot, but you know.
I also wouldn't rule out Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that one's still hanging out there too. I would actually like that pick better,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but
Yeah,
just do something.
the thing with Garoppolo is the fact that he had that surgery, so he's not even going to be able to throw till like June or
Yep.
July, and so they're going to need him to. Oh, you froze on me. Are you still there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. Like you kind of froze for a second. I was like, oh shit. So it's June or July that he's because of his surgery when he's gonna be able to throw again. So that's I think what's hindering a deal for Garoppolo. But you can't have Garoppolo in that locker room if you're handing the team over to Trey Lance. Team, like basically the entire team, from what I'm hearing, everybody that's ever played with Jimmy G would run through a fucking brick wall for him.
Okay. Yeah, he's
He's
got
just
that good leadership ability.
Yeah, he's just that type of dude in the locker room. And if you're trying to give Trey Lance his shot, and you have him looking over his shoulder at Garoppolo, who the entire team loves, then you're kind of
You're sending a mixed message. Yeah, it's
exactly
gonna be messed up. Yeah, yeah, you got to get him out of there. I think that San Francisco's, they're being smart in the regard that slow and steady can win the race with them getting the right trade.
Hmm.
But there's so few potential landing spots now that they really shouldn't be as picky. And I understand why they're doing it, but I agree with you is that if this goes on too far, it potentially backfires on them.
So, so this article I just saw, I want to see what they. Okay, that makes sense. So it was like the 10 most impactful trades this offseason, and it was Russ at number two, which I think I would flip the two, but it has. I was curious who it had at one, and it was Deshaun.
Okay.
I would flip that. Flip that. I would probably put Deshaun Watson at three or four, based on this list. Five maybe. Yeah, probably at five because like they have one Watson, the Deshaun Watson trade, then Russell Wilson, Tyreek Hill trade, Khalil Mack trade, Devontae Adams trade, and I would put it between Devontae Adams and Matt Ryan.
Gotcha.
But I was just curious who they had as the number one trade.
All right. Any other news?
The last one that it just occurred to me was Peterson basically eviscerated the culture in Jacksonville last season under Urban Meyer, and basically said like basically I'm paraphrasing and interpreting what he said. Last year was a shit show here at head coach,
Yeah.
and I'm just in here trying to earn the guy's trust in the first place because of all the shit that went on prior, which I
Yeah.
thought was interesting.
Yeah. Hey, I like Doug Peterson, and he's just calling it out. They had a toxic environment, and if they come together as a team, that alone can help them win some games while they figure out where they're going with their rebuild.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I like him. I hope it works out for him. And I think he's in a good spot with Trevor Lawrence. You know, Peterson's been good with quarterbacks in the past. And Trevor Lawrence obviously had a ton of potential, went number one overall, and last year just looked like a disaster. I gotta believe Peterson can get him on track and give this team some hope. But it's also, his first year there, so we got to be a little bit patient.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Well, you ready to switch it over?
I'm good.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk about the 2022 NFL schedule. And so we'll do sort of just kind of a preview of what's been released. Maybe we'll talk about some key games to start the year, key games to finish the year. We'll give people an overview on the international games that are on the slate for this year. And then, James, I want to talk about the primetime games, at least in terms of who ended up with the most, who ended up with the least. We can talk a little bit about strength of schedules because I think that'll come into play later on when we do our early, basically record predictions. That's a big factor is looking at the strength of schedules. And then if you want, or if we got time, we can look at some over/under predictions. I saw ESPN published, some of what the odds are for that, and so we can kind of play it by ear. But why don't we start off with some of the key games to start the season, man? What are you seeing? I think it's what is it? Buffalo opens up against the Rams.
Yeah, so I like the bookend for week 1, and it's Buffalo at the Rams, which is I told you this. I've said the Rams are going back to the Super Bowl. I'm very high on the Bills, and and I think that that's actually going to be the Super Bowl. So, in theory, if my Super Bowl prediction pans out, then the very first game of the NFL season and the very last game of the season will be the same teams playing, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so you think it'll be Buffalo against the Bills against the Rams in the Super Bowl, and you got the Bills right now. You think are going to win it?
Yeah,
Okay, I like that, man. I think for especially for week 1, I think they're looking at this as their missed Super Bowl opportunity. I think they believe had not all that crazy shit happened with the Chiefs, they would have been there. They would have played the Rams, and they're looking at this as we got to win this game because that's like the best we could do to prove that we would have deserved to get it. And so maybe set the tone for the season, and who knows, play them again at the end of the year, like you're saying.
Yeah, and then week one is finished with Denver at Seattle,
Okay. Yeah,
and
interesting
that's
with
the
that
Monday night game.
revenge game right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of divisional matchups in week one, which is a new interesting feel to it because like a lot of these teams don't they generally put divisional matchups later in the season than they
Yeah.
did. So, but yeah, those like just to start with Buffalo at the Rams and then Denver at Seattle. And you have some like other big games like the last game of the season for the Chargers last year was against the Raiders, and they're opening up this season against the Raiders. And the same matchup was it last year? Tampa Bay and Dallas started the season, and that's the Sunday night game this
Yeah, I
year.
like that. There's some spicy matchups to start the year, especially that Raiders Chargers one because, the way the Chargers kind of messed that up, the way they're however, that tie situation could have worked out and um yeah, it's yeah, and then, looking at the end of the year, you were talking about the divisional matchups. James, it looks like they're doing a lot of that again, which is I think a great way to go because um you're really putting an emphasis on competition going into the playoffs.
Yeah,
And
and
if you're playing a divisional opponent, they're going to be trying tooth and nail to keep you from getting in, even if they're already out. And so I like the way that they're doing that again this year. Um, yeah, and I'm just kind of looking at the grid. I'm seeing the buys. It looks like the bye weeks start week 6. They go through week 14, and it looks like the bulk of them are going to hit in week 9 this year.
I
You know,
miss I miss that factor. And I did also notice we're gonna do the international games in a minute, but um, I I thought it was weird that a bunch of the teams that are playing international games aren't coming home to a bye. Like they don't have that bye week like they did have in previous years.
oh, gotcha. So yeah, they're stressing them a little bit. That's a lot of travel.
Yeah, like New Orleans and Minnesota play in week 4, and like you said, the first bye week is week 6. The Giants and the Packers play in week 5, and nope, they don't have a bye.
Yeah, I'm seeing Jacksonville. They got a bye in week 8, or their week 8 games international. They got a bye week 9. Looks like the same with Tampa Bay in week 10. They get a bye in week 11. And same with Seattle. But yeah, you're right. A lot of them they play the following week, man. That's hard to do.
Is my grid off then?
No, your grid's right. It's just
Because I have Jacksonville's bye as week 11.
oh, that's interesting. Oh, hang on. Oh, Denver. Oh, it's Denver playing against Jacksonville in the
Yeah.
international game. Denver's got the bye in week 9. Sorry, there we go. Yeah,
Okay,
that
because
makes a
that's
little
like
more sense.
yeah, and like Seattle, like Tampa Bay has a bye after it, but a lot of the teams,
Yeah,
Seattle and Tampa Bay have the bye after their international game, and then San Francisco, Arizona, that's in Mexico, so that doesn't matter.
not as bad. Yeah,
That's bad, but
unless they get Montezuma's revenge or something.
well, I think last time they tried to play on that field, they had to move the game because it wasn't up to snuff.
Well, is that the field too that they had the issue with the lasers in that one game? Like they were shining lasers at the quarterback?
Uh,
I want
it
to say
might
that
have
was a
been.
Mexico game, maybe Mexico City or something, but
Yeah, it might be.
different fans, man. Different
Yeah.
fans. Well, you were earlier before we got started. You were pointing out some quirks in the schedule with the way it starts off for a few of the teams. What did you see there?
So the first one I saw was when you look at who were they? It, look at the Jets and the Ravens. So the AFC North and the AFC East play each other this year, and the Jets, their first four games are all against the AFC North, and the Ravens' first four games are all against the AFC East, which is strange. Apparently, this happened the last time a team played the four teams in the rival division was apparently 2004. And it was only one team that did it. And this year we have two teams doing it.
Yeah, it does seem like a strange way to start the year.
Yeah. And so for for Baltimore, that's pretty good because besides Buffalo, the AFC East, I think, is going to be pretty shitty this year. For the Jets, I don't know if that's so good because besides Pittsburgh, I think the AFC North is going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah, I think that's tough for the Jets. I mean, honestly, they could have them potentially starting. I mean, holy cow, they got a tough run. The
Hmm.
the Jets could be 0 for everything up until the bye week, man. I don't know.
So
Oh,
no, glancing at the schedule, like their first, and anything could happen. Like they could surprise New England, not likely,
yeah.
but like their first win could be Week 12.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. Chicago, that could be their first shot of getting a win. Oh man, they need to take a big step up this year because it looks like a pretty brutal schedule for the Jets, man.
Hmm. it's, it's like, but they do have Detroit and Jacksonville, Detroit, Jacksonville, Seattle in a 3 week stretch. So
Yeah, towards the end. I mean, but if your season's already gone,
yeah,
it's tough at that point because you could be rotating backups, trying to see if you got something in a younger guy, and knowing that a loss isn't terrible because you're preserving a higher draft pick or whatever. So,
yeah. And another one, there's four teams that have a 3 game road trip in their schedule. Green,
okay.
Green Bay, Miami, Philadelphia, and Kansas City.
Gotcha.
And since 2002, this is interesting. And since 2018, teams that have had the 3 game road trip are 22 and 11.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you think it'd be the other way.
Yeah. So, so well, at Green Bay you would expect, in Kansas City possibly, depending on. And
Who they got to play, yeah.
I don't know. That's first two are pretty rough. It's Cincinnati, Denver, Houston for Kansas City. For
Yeah,
Green Bay, it's Washington, Buffalo, Detroit. So that's a lot easier.
yeah, Washington and Detroit, you think they got. For Kansas City, Houston, the other two are going to be tough.
Yeah, Miami that's a rough stretch for 3 straight road games. San Francisco, the Chargers, and Buffalo.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal for the Dolphins, man. And a lot of teams are really high on the Dolphins for this year, which I'm trying to like pump the brakes on because new coach, a lot going on. I get it. You traded for Tyreek Hill. Tua's expected to be like a freaking, I don't know, some people are going crazy saying, dark horse MVP, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, hey man, you got a whole new coaching staff here, and the schedule could be pretty tough. Let's just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, it, and then for Philadelphia, it's the Giants, the Bears, and Dallas.
Oh, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
You know,
So
yeah. Well, let's talk about the international games for a minute, man. So we got five of
one
them
more,
this year.
one more,
Oh yeah, yeah.
one
Go ahead,
more,
go ahead. I don't want
two
to
more.
rush you.
Chicago plays 3 games in the month of December. All 3 of them are at home. They're bye games in there. or their bye weeks in there, so they don't leave. They play all games at home in the month of December, and it's the first time it's happened since 1964. And then
Yeah.
Kansas City. Oh my gosh. Kansas City starts through week 9. They have their bye week, week 8. Their first 8 games of the season are all against teams that were 500 or better last year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, so Chicago, going back to that real quick, it's nice being able to close it out at home like that. But I mean, I think Chicago's so far from competing this year that it's not doing them any favors. You know, all this could do is maybe give them momentum to fire up the fans for the following year.
Yeah,
Kansas City, whew, yeah, that's tough, man.
well, with Chicago, it's their last 2 games, because how the schedule falls this year, the last 2 weeks of the season are in January.
Okay.
So it'd be games 14, no,
Oh,
13,
those are going to be some
14,
cold games
15.
out at Soldier Field, man.
Yeah. Yeah, 13, 14, 15. Then they go to Detroit, and then they finish the season with Minnesota at home.
Okay.
But yeah, but I mean, Kansas City has a brutal schedule this year, just overall, and it's ridiculous. Like we said, like Denver, what was it? Denver, Houston, Seattle, and Jacksonville are the only four teams on Kansas City's schedule that were below 500 last year.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That's an uphill battle. Um, yeah, and I do want to talk about the strength of schedule. So, I mean, you know, honestly, we could go some different directions. We can do strength of schedule now. We could do international games, come back to strength of schedule, or we could talk primetime games, man. You pick.
Uh, let's hit the international games
Okay.
first.
Yeah, so for this year we got 5 international games. The first one is the Vikings are going to be playing the Saints in London, which the London stuff has been going on for a while now, and that seems to be a pretty good deal. You know, those fans, they go pretty crazy. They like it. It's
Yeah, it's kind of, it feels like it's kind of early for an international game this year too, because it's what, week 4?
yeah, October 2nd.
Yeah, it feels like it's like a couple weeks earlier than normal, but that might be because of how the schedules just fell. But I like the London games. It's fucking way too early for me to get up and watch the game, because that's like waking up at like 6 o'clock in the morning for me. Um, and they're always, you could put anybody there. You could put frickin' the Jets and hell the Jaguars there, which Jaguars always play there, and the games sell out. They just go nuts for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And all right, well yeah, so after that one you got the Giants at the Packers, which is another London game, you know. So they're getting a few in there for London, which is nice. You know, I mean, you know, there's been rumors, James, that one of these teams, maybe Jacksonville or whoever might make the move over to London at some point because those fans are pretty solid. Um, and geez, I'm actually looking the next one after that, Denver against Jacksonville. That's another London game. So
Yeah.
they got 3 of them. They got 2 of them at the Tottenham deal, and then they got 1 of them at Wembley, man.
So the thing with Jacksonville playing in London, and if you go back to every single London game or every single year where we played in London, Jacksonville has played a game in London, and that's why you had the rumors about Jacksonville moving to London.
Yeah.
I think it's because they don't like the thing with Jacksonville moving is I think they have another few years before the owner can even consider moving the team.
Okay.
because there was some kind of clause in the sale contract where for X number of years he wouldn't move the team from Jacksonville.
Gotcha.
And but Jacksonville's been rumored of the team that would move to London. There's also rumors of an expansion team.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, geez, man, we've not had an expansion team in a while.
Yeah,
And
it's starting to fire up like rumors, and I'm also hearing rumors of putting a second team in Dallas.
I don't know if I'd like that. I'd almost prefer do two international teams or something than
Yeah.
add another one in Dallas. Come on, like that just I don't know. But with Jacksonville, I understand some of the rumors too because you get a lot of retirees down in Florida and they come from other parts of the country. And so I've known people that have lived down there and they don't care about the Florida teams at all because they're from New York or they're from Michigan or they're from wherever. And so it's especially when you're like Jacksonville where you're not winning, it's hard to really get a committed fan base. And so if you're going to move, yeah, that's like low hanging fruit. They're a team to look at.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Jackson, but then there's all sorts of logistical issues with um with if you move a team to London with travel and everything,
Yeah.
which is going back to the earlier comment, which is why I think they're trying out a couple games where the team doesn't have the bye week after their Europe game.
Yeah, get some stats on, how productive are you so that they can either shoot down, some of those complaints or whatever. I get it.
Yeah. So I think, and this year the final team to play Green Bay. That's what I wanted to make. Green Bay was the only team in the league that had not played in Europe yet, and they're finally forcing them that game this year.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. That's interesting. They fought it for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then after that, we got the first game in Germany this year, which is going to be in Munich. It's the Seahawks at the Buccaneers. That game will be on November 13th. I think that's pretty cool because we've been seeing a lot of players, these international players, come out of that area of Europe, come out of Germany, Austria, those kind of countries, and so they must have a pretty big fan base brewing out there. So I'm excited to see how those guys respond at an NFL game.
Yeah, I don't think they did did the game any favors by it being Seattle that's playing Tampa Bay because Seattle's kind of going to be pathetic this year. Like I think there's other games on
Well,
Tampa
they're
Bay's
going to get the
schedule.
goat. They're going to get the goat.
Right, but like you could have put like the Rams in Tampa Bay there.
Yeah.
Or
Well, yeah, that would have been a sweet game. Yeah.
yeah, or you could have put San Francisco and Tampa Bay there. Like I understand putting Tampa Bay there. It's just the other team they put against
Yeah,
Tampa
make
Bay.
it a spicier matchup. I hear you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's your first game in Germany. You want to get them fired up. Like in London, they know that they'll sell out. So you could put shit matchups there and they'd sell out. Like I mean, hell, Jacksonville's games sell out every year there. So, but your first game in Germany, you kind of want to start it off with a bang. You put a spicy matchup there, and I think you'll have people from the U.S. traveling there. You'll sell out in
Yeah.
Germans going to the games.
Oh, geez, man, they should have done it in frickin' October. Have an Oktoberfest game. Oh, that would be cool. Oh, get your lederhosen.
Yeah,
I'd
and
go.
the thing I like about these games is in the past what I had started to say was in the past they would play it like late in the fucking day
Yeah.
over there, like they'd play it at was it like 7 p.m. there to be
A
at
noon
like
start, I think, here.
1 o'clock
Yeah.
start here, a 1 o'clock start here. let's see, New England or England's +5. So it'd be a 6 p.m. game for one to start at normal time, where only a select few people would be able to watch the game. When you have it, what they're doing now is they put all the games, so it's an early game here, which is a relatively, let's see, so 9 would be a 2:30 p.m. game there, or 9:30, which is, I think, is better. So you have more audience that can catch the game.
Okay. Well, yeah, all right. And so then, yeah, the last one we got looks like it's going to be the 49ers against the Cardinals in Mexico City, and that'll be on November 21st. And so that one not as bad for time change as you talked about earlier. Um, and I'm pretty sure that's the one that they had that laser situation a few years ago. But either way, Mexico City, those fans have been pretty crazy, so it seems like it's working there as well.
Yeah, and this is an interesting matchup because this is the first regular season NFL game played outside the United States. It was in 2005 at this stadium where San Francisco played the Cardinals. So I think it's a kind of cool matchup to go back to like the roots of the international series.
Gotcha. All right, we're rolling again, James. So yeah, we were talking about the San Francisco game against Arizona and Mexico City. So you're saying that that's like basically the start of the international series.
Yeah, in 2000, back in 2005 when they started it at Estadio Azteca, um, it's apparently the 8th largest crowd in NFL history too for that game.
Okay.
San Francisco and the Cardinals played then was that, I don't know the date. It was just in 2005. One other quirk I forgot to mention was the Raiders and the Steelers game is 50 years and 1 day after, or 50 years and 1 day anniversary of, or the day after the 50-year anniversary of the Immaculate Reception.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one thing I forgot about, and when to go back to that as we're talking about cool little quirks and
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if they found a way to like program that in to do that. I mean, they're going to be talking about it.
yeah, they're definitely going to be talking about it. So I think I think it's what week is that? And I said Oakland, and I obviously meant Las Vegas when I said that. Little slip up. I'm still calling them Oakland, apparently.
Hey, it's all right, dude. It happens. It's like with Washington. We're going to be messing that up for a while too.
Yeah, whatever the hell they call that team in Washington.
Yeah, not good is what they are. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Commanders. Um, all right. Well, yeah. Let's talk about the primetime games for this year or lack thereof in the case of the Detroit Lions, James, which that's going to tie into the question of the week this week. But, um, I was looking at it, and so there are 12 teams that have 5 primetime games this year.
13.
13?
13.
Oh, geez. See, I'm looking at Sportskeeda, and Albert Breer posted 12 of them. The Bills, the Cowboys, the Packers, Chiefs, Rams, Broncos, Bucks, Chargers, Bengals, Patriots, Eagles, and 49ers. You're saying there's one more.
Yeah, it's because the maximum is 5 primetime games that you can have.
Okay.
Let's see.
I mean, I get it with the Rams. They just won the Super Bowl. I get it with the Bucks. They got the GOAT. A lot of these teams, they all make sense. Maybe maybe the Eagles are a little bit of a stretch because they're still kind of coming around. Um, but all these other teams, these are big teams, man. And so I totally get it. I'm more bummed about the other side, which is the Lions not getting a primetime game, which I'm kind of hearing is because they consider their, 12 o'clock Thanksgiving game a primetime game, even though like it isn't listed as a primetime game in the schedule like that. But, I'm just like, geez, man, 12 or 13 teams got five and we
It's
didn't even get one.
it's 12. The article headline said 13,
Okay,
but then within the article it says 12.
gotcha. Okay.
So it's just a weird fuck up on the Reddit. So a couple things, and it was I want to say his name is Mike North. It's one of the creators of the schedule. He was on Sports Talk, the radio, the day after the schedule release, and he talked a little bit about how they determine the primetime matchups. One of the things they looked at was buzz.
Okay.
And if you're the Lions, you're not really generating that much buzz. Another thing they looked at was the betting, the gambling angle.
Okay.
So, and then again, the Lions, it's going to be lopsided. Whoever they play, you're going to bet it. Most people are going to bet against them. One thing I found interesting about the Amazon Prime package was 29 of the 32 teams play or have a game that's going to be showcased on Amazon Prime on Thursday night.
Oh, gotcha.
The three teams, the Lions, obviously. I think it's. Let me find it.
And now is this exclusive for Amazon?
Yeah, it's exclusive for
Yeah,
Amazon
see, that
Prime.
pisses me off, but okay.
It's the Giants, the Vikings, and the Lions. But on the flip side, the Vikings, the Giants, and the Lions, all three of them play on Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
So every team in the league this year plays one Thursday game.
Yeah. Yeah, I did read that. Yeah, that was like the Lions Thursday night game was basically Thanksgiving, even though it's not a Thursday night, but it's close enough, I guess.
Yeah, but I think it's bullshit to have 12 teams with 5 fucking primetime games and you can't just give the Lions one of them.
Yeah. Well, let's save some of the Lions stuff because I want to talk about it in the question of the week, but yeah, I mean, it bothers me. We'll
Yeah.
just leave it at that for now. All right, so primetime games aside, because I think from a buzz standpoint, all those teams you can make the case for, except I said maybe the Eagles, maybe they got some work to do yet. But all those other teams, yeah, they're hot teams. I get it. Um,
I figured out why the article said 13. Because the week 18 Sunday night game can't be any of those 12 teams that already have 5. So I think that's what they're counting or something.
Okay,
There's something weird like that. But anyways.
gotcha. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, if you're good, we'll switch it up a little bit. Let's take a look at the strength of schedule. And,
Uh,
instead of going through all 32, that's a little bit mundane. I thought we'd just maybe highlight the top 5 and the bottom 5. The guys who got it the hardest and the guys who got it the easiest. And I know we'll be coming back to this in a few weeks when we do our way too early record predictions. But starting at the top, James, and I'll just go through the top 5. We can talk about their opponent win percentage next. But you got the Rams at 1, Cardinals at 2, Bengals at 3, the Buccaneers at 4, and then you got a tie at 5 with the 49ers and the Chiefs, which I think we were expecting, obviously, the way that you were reading off the Chiefs' schedule, that they would be up here. Um, when I see this, man, and this is, I think it's going to be a two-part question of the week. Actually, I'm just going to put that out there, but I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Cardinals, man.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that a little bit in past weeks with their schedule because they face off against the AFC West, and so any of those teams in the NFC West, which is the best division, which which was one of the best divisions in the NFL last year,
Yep.
is playing the AFC West, which was one of the best divisions in the NFL last year. So I mean, you have three of the four teams in the top five from the NFC West. That's
Yeah.
kind of a reflection of them having to play the AFC West, which and then like you have like right after that you have the teams from the AFC West. They get a little bit of the AFC West has an easier one because the NFC West plays the AFC West and the South,
Okay.
the NFC South, and then the AFC West plays the NFC West and the Houston Jaguars and the AFC South. So the AFC South is a little bit worse division, which is why not all the AFC West teams are up there, as high up there.
Gotcha.
But I think on the flip side, a lot of these teams that are high up there don't really have to travel as much as some teams do, mileage wise. Like I think San Francisco has to travel. Of those Bengals.
You know, it's interesting. So I'm looking at this, and while you're working on your thought there, I was just checking where the Rams were the year before. And so last year, going into the season, they had the 10th hardest strength of schedule. This year is going to be number one. And it's actually this year number one by like a decent chunk. Their opponents had 164 wins. The Cardinals were at two with 157, and then three drops down to 154. So the Rams have a really tough run this year, which, you know, I mean, they're built to run it back, man. They made some insane moves in the offseason. I don't know how the hell they kept all the guys they kept, but it's going to put them to the test, man. If they can repeat, it would be an impressive freaking repeat.
I'm curious about something since you mentioned that, but so I looked up when you said that, and it looks like the Chargers are at number 10,
Okay.
and so I wanted to see was it 2020 NFL strength of schedule because I want to see where.
Yeah, and the Steelers, for what it's worth, had the hardest strength of schedule last year, and we know what happened with them. They fell off the face of the planet, but part of that was because Roethlisberger's arm fell off a cliff, so that didn't do him any favors.
I just wanted to see where.
Man, Cincinnati, they had the sixth hardest strength of schedule last year, and they still freaking pulled that off, man. Wow.
All right. So in 2020, I was just curious about how well that 10 panned out. Because last year the Rams were at 10, but the year before the Bucks were at 16. The Ram were the Rams 10 2 years in a row?
Maybe. I'm showing them being at 10 and 21, which was last season. I didn't go back to 20.
Yeah, they were 10 2 years in a row.
Okay.
That's a weird quirk. They were
Yeah.
tied with Minnesota at 10. Huh. That's interesting. But anyways,
It is.
sidetrack. ADD.
No, it's cool. Well,
What was
let's look at the bottom, man. So if we take a look at the five easiest, you got the Washington Commanders. They got the easiest. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, and the Detroit Lions, which, you know, we talked about the Lions in our ranges for where they could be. I think that this is a year where the schedule does them some favors. Where I know I was telling you, hey, I think it could be 7-9. I think you had them at 8-10. You know, I don't
yeah.
know if that's necessarily good enough to sneak in the playoffs just yet because the NFC is kind of weak, but um, it'd still be tough to slide in, I think. But I think they honestly, like the stars have aligned for them to have like a appreciable bump in their wins, at least for this year.
Well, the thing that stuck out to me there was because of the how shitty the NFC
Oh,
East has
oh,
been
yeah, they're the bottom four.
to the bottom four, and like the only difference between like Dallas and Washington are tied, and then Philadelphia has one less loss, one more tie,
Yeah,
and the Giants play teams with one more win, one less tie than Philadelphia. So it's, I mean, it's between the bottom and like the bottom four, it's a 0.003 difference in strength of schedule percentage.
yep, yep. I mean, I will say this one. So they're not in the bottom five, but they're right at the edge. Is the Colts? They're just above the Lions. I like that because I think with Matt Ryan taking over at quarterback, it gives them a chance to basically, you know, get reestablished, so to speak, and hopefully make a playoff run because I feel like this team has been primed to do it. They just had, you know, Wentz basically blew up in their face last year and snuffed them of that opportunity.
So that's weird.
What's that?
Okay, so if you look at the bottom teams, the NFC East plays the NFC North and the AFC South,
Okay.
and so obviously the NFC North plays the NFC East, and but they play the AFC East.
Yeah.
So basically, all these bottom from tied for 24th down, all those teams in some combination play each other.
Yep. Yeah, they're getting like kind of a favorable, hey, you guys all suck, so we're going to let you guys figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe not the nicest way to put it, but that's
No,
the
no,
way I put
that's what it looks like.
it. Yeah. And then a team like Green Bay, they benefit from that. Baltimore, Tennessee, they benefit from that.
Wow. All those teams in some combination going up all the way up to Houston, in some combination, all those teams play each other.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Actually, going higher than that. But no, well, no. Like obviously, some combination if you start at the top, but like going up to, like all those teams are playing each other. Like because Tennessee plays Green Bay this year, um, Jacksonville plays Detroit. Is it Detroit? Yeah, Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore plays whatever. It's just crazy that all those teams just kind of play each other, which is why they're driving. There's such a big difference between the hardest schedule and the weakest schedule because all the weakest teams are playing each other and all the hardest teams are playing each
Yep.
other.
Yeah, which I mean, honestly, that's going to give us good football this year. It'll be deceiving when one of these shittier teams has a good year because you got to kind of put it in perspective. But it'll be that much more impressive when one of the good teams really runs away with it and has like fucking 12 wins. It's going to be like, oh, 12 wins against a bunch of badass other teams.
Yeah,
Like it's cool. I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to it every year. So,
yeah, exactly. But you go to Detroit and you look at their schedule, and like in theory, Detroit could start out somewhere between 4-1, 4-1, and maybe 3-2, 4-1.
yeah, if they were 4-1, it'd be very deceptive.
Yeah, because I mean they start with Philadelphia and Washington, and they play Seattle on week 4.
Yep.
I mean their two toughest opponents in the first 5 weeks of the season are Minnesota and New England, which I think New England's took a step back this year.
Hey, anything can happen, man. All right. Well, where do you want to go from here, man? Do you feel satisfied? Do you feel like we should look at the over-unders for the teams? Like, what are you thinking, man?
I think we just go to the one weird aspect. I don't know if we talked about this.
Okay.
The disparity in travel from the most travel to the least travel.
Oh, yeah, man, you pointed this out to me before. Yeah, yeah. Go through this. Yeah.
Yeah, so the team that travels the most is the Seahawks. They travel across 34 time zones, and they fly almost 26,000 miles during the season, which is ridiculous. And like obviously, like the top, I think it was like the top 3 are play in Europe. Um, but but then you look to the least traveled, like the Lions. The Lions don't go past the Central Time Zone. They either
Well,
play
yeah.
Eastern Time Zone or the Central Time Zone. And the Central Time Zone, like outside of the division, the only team they play in outside outside of the division, they play Dallas.
So that's another favorable aspect for the Lions season.
Yeah, and they travel the second fewest. They travel 8,400 yards. The team that travels the least, and I have to really zoom in on this because this is crazy. I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. It's come on. All right, I have to do it this way because
Hey,
it's
it's
just
cool. Whatever way works, man.
because so you had Seattle who travels a total of where's my scroll bar? There it is. It was I'm sorry, it's 29,446 miles. Then you have the least traveled, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who travel 6,442 miles. And actually, the Pittsburgh Steelers never leave the Eastern time zone.
Jeez. Yeah, how does that happen? How do you have that much disparity?
Because yeah, they play Vegas, but that game's at home. They play New Orleans, but that game's at home. All the road games are Cincinnati, Cleveland, Buffalo, Miami, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Atlanta, Carolina, and Baltimore.
Yeah, seems like they should have gotten an international game.
Yeah. So so they travel 6,442 miles.
Jeez.
And they are the only team that doesn't leave their time zone.
Yeah, that's wild, man. That's a huge advantage for them. And I know that they're in flux at quarterback, but that really gives them a much smoother schedule.
Yeah, and I mean but it's the same. Like the other, like Cleveland and Baltimore, also only travel through two time zones. Because Cleveland, and I think both of them go to Houston.
Okay.
Houston and yeah,
Yeah.
both of them.
Yes. It's it's great that you point it out because it's not something that's reflected on the strength of schedule, but in a way it does reflect how hard the schedule is or how easy it is.
Actually, I don't think. Oh, they go to New Orleans. Baltimore goes to New Orleans. Okay. I was like, I can't find the game where they leave the Eastern time zone.
Gotcha.
And then you look at their strength of schedule, and their strength of schedules for all those teams that like barely travel, like Pittsburgh, Detroit. Pittsburgh's in the middle, aren't they? Pittsburgh's like
Yeah.
in the middle,
Yeah, they're
and
at 12. Detroit's down at the bottom, 28.
yeah, Detroit's
Baltimore's
way down there.
23.
Yeah, and then Cincinnati is decently high.
Yeah,
Like
Cincinnati,
I
they're
think
they're up high. Yeah.
I think that gives an advantage over the top three team or other top two teams for their strength of schedule because of the fact that how little they actually travel.
Yeah, it's like extra, like for a team like Arizona, it's that much harder. For
Hmm.
Cincinnati, it's like, yeah, you're comparable with strength of schedule, but really you're not putting in the miles. You're not going to be a road burner like some of these other guys are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm glad you called that out, man. That's important to point out. All right, well, what do you think? I'm thinking maybe we save the over under for another week.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. Well, why don't we let's move it over to the question of the week then. And I'll do it two part because the first one's going to be about the Lions, and I don't always want it to be about the Lions, but we'll start there. And so, the question is, despite the strength of schedule being favorable, did the Lions get hosed by the schedule makers in terms of not having a primetime game outside of Thanksgiving? My opinion is yeah. I think it's bullshit. I've read a whole bunch of articles that, it's people just talking. I don't know that they really know what's going on, but some of them saying Thanksgiving is a primetime game, and so they did get one. And then I heard some other people saying that, oh, well, the Lions are going to be on Hard Knocks, and so they're getting their attention elsewhere, which I think it's like, wow, that's just like totally independent of primetime games, but whatever. Um, I think that to me, and it goes to your point about what they're doing in terms of traveling. It's that not only do they not have a primetime game, but they don't even have one 4 o'clock game. It's all 1 o'clock games, man. And I mean Thanksgiving at noon or whatever, which is just like so. It's not even a primetime. Not only do you not have a primetime game, you don't even have like a middle game, whatever you want to call that. It just I know they got a history of losing, and so it's okay. I get it. And a part of me wants them to kind of be under the radar, but I don't know, dude. I think it was BS. When you see all those teams with five, it just seems like there should have been somehow some more balance in there for a team like the Lions at the bottom.
And I understand that perspective. And my initial reaction is yes, they did get kind of hosed on it. But then when you look at their schedule and the teams they're playing, they only have one compelling matchup on their entire schedule.
Yeah, what can you get excited for?
And that's Buffalo, which is the Thanksgiving Day game. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you could say Green Bay. You could
you
pick
could
one
say
of those, but
Green Bay. So week 9, Thursday, Sunday night football is Tennessee and Kansas City.
hmm
Thursday night football, okay, you could substitute out the Thursday night, November 3rd. It's Philadelphia and Houston. But I think on week 8, Green Bay plays Sunday night. So it's
So you're fine with it, is what you're
yeah,
getting at.
I'm fine with it because they don't have a real compelling matchup.
Sure.
There's and I think maybe not all of the primetime games are, but a high majority of them. Steelers and Browns. That's compelling. Yeah, I think a very high majority of them are compelling matchups. Like Atlanta and Carolina. That's not two good teams, but that's always a fucking phenomenal game.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a good divisional matchup. Yep.
the Jets and the Jaguars. That's kind of shitty Thursday night game, but that has to do with the NFL scheduling rules where the
Yeah.
Jets can't play.
Well, and you
Like
got you got
if the
Trevor Lawrence
Giants
against Zach
Giants
Wilson.
yeah, but
I
if the
get some of that.
Giants are away, the Jets can't play at the same time,
Okay.
and, and it's a whole. So basically, when Oakland was in, with the Rams and the Chargers, and the Giants and the Jets, each team is guaranteed one primetime game every year because of the scheduling rules or the TV rules. So I think you already have the compelling matchups on primetime, which is spread across all the packages. It's Sunday night, Monday night,
Yeah.
Thursday night. You have normally normally like one normally like Sunday night kind of ouch. So it goes like Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night, but it's kind of like pretty evenly split this year. So I don't know what you're gonna do. Who are you gonna replace? What game are you gonna replace team that the Lions play? Green Bay, which I mean they play Green Bay in week 18 and week 9, and Buffalo. Maybe the Dallas game, but
Yeah. I mean, I think that Philly Houston one that you talked about on Thursday night would have been the prime one because Philly's got five, but it's all right. You have diffused me, James. I get it. It's all good, man.
right, and that would be the prime one, except for the fact that Green Bay plays Sunday night the
Yeah,
previous week.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. So because I did one on the Lions, and I shouldn't just always be going after Lions stuff here. I want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, and I think you and I are going to be on the same page with this. But looking at their strength of schedule and some of the stuff going on, the bonus question is, do you think it's super early, but do you think the Cardinals will make the playoffs this year? And I know they started on a fucking hot streak last year, and then things fell apart for them. I think a lot of people, there's hype with Kingsbury and Kyler Murray and all the shit going on there. I think it's no. I think they're like shafted hard. Like looking at everything that's going on with this team, they lost Chandler Jones. DeAndre Hopkins has that PED suspension to start the season, which is, couple that with Kyler Murray sucking later in the season, you're going to have a hard start. Plus, he's going to fade later on. Double whammy. James Conner got a contract. We know he's had some injury issues in the past, and for whatever reason, when running backs get paid, they fall off the face of the earth. All this is still not to mention that it's a tough division. I don't know, man. I think this could be a defining year for the Cardinals. I think that they could falter, and we could be talking Kingsbury and company and hot water. This team potentially making some pretty drastic changes after the season.
So, initial perspective, I would say yes, you are right. But they're non-division games because the extra game against the AFC is in an NFC stadium this year. That means their hardest. Let's just go away with their away schedule. They play
Sure.
at Vegas, at Carolina, at Seattle, at Minnesota, at the Rams, at Denver, at Atlanta, at San Francisco. Throw out at San Francisco, at Seattle, at the Rams. Their hard non-division opponents are majority at home, besides like Kansas City,
Well, so that's another factor
New
then with the
Orleans.
schedule. Just like you looked at the travel miles, it's who are you playing and where. And so if you have a hard strength of schedule, but all your tough games are at home, that's more favorable for you. And
Yeah,
your easier ones are on the road. Playing on the road's hard, but if you're playing easier teams, it gives you a better chance. And so you're saying that it's deceiving that they've got the number two strength of schedule, that it actually kind of falls into their lap, even though it's tough. The way that it's home versus away helps them out big time.
yeah, and I'm looking for their extra game, their extra AFC opponent, and like I'm just not finding it at home. Kansas City, Rams, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Seattle, Chargers, New England. That's weird.
You'll find
New
it.
England. New England. There it is. Their the extra AFC game, the 17th game is New England at home, which that's part of a road trip where New England plays week 14 at Arizona and then plays week 15 at Vegas. So yeah, but I agree with you because of the fact that they're they have so many of their hard opponents at home. Because I think Vegas and Denver. Denver has a good defense and Russ and stuff, but I think it's I think well Denver is a hard place to play, not as much as Vegas. So I think that's probably their only tough game on the road is that at Denver. That's
Yeah.
non-division.
You think they got a fighting chance, is what
I
you're
think they
telling me.
got a chance. Kyler just has to not tail off at the end of the season, and I think my early prediction was as good as the NFC West is, as bad as the NFC is. I think three of the four teams in the NFC West make the playoffs, with Seattle being out, depending on who's quarterback.
Yeah, it could still happen, man. I'm still down on the Cardinals, but I'll take what you told me. I'll absorb it, and when we do our record predictions, maybe I'll change my mind. All right, cool. So that's all I got for tonight, man. You got any closing thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, hey, for anybody who's still watching, we hope you liked the show. If you did, hit us up, give us the thumbs up, the like, whatever. Shoot us some comments. Tell us, good, bad, or indifferent. If you didn't like the show, let us know. We're good with that too. But if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing this again next week, just like we always do. And James, like always, man, it was a good time. I'll
Uh,
catch you later, homie.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
All right. See you.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.